Alexa, I still maintain that your reputation was ruined long before Kat came into the picture.
I agree.
Long before the sealed versus unsealed debacle with you and Kat Tembaj.
I agree.
Purely not just based on the questions that Kat asked you, pointing to...
Also, you know what we don't talk about? Well, we talked about it in the moment. Alexa Nikolas, remember when she made Nickelodeon merch? And made merchandise off of all of the child stars from Nickelodeon? Why are you making merch on that and making money from that? We called you out for that anyways. Girl, you were doing things that we were calling you out for a long time, and you were being ratioed to fuck on Twitter way before Kat Tembaj came into the picture.
To your community potentially crumbling right beneath you. But also, even now, there are still people claiming to be survivors of you. Even today, right now, a couple of seconds ago, I got yet another message from a person claiming to be the victim of you. And I don't, nor will I ever respect you based on the fact that you will continuously lie and claim things that are patently false.
Alexa Nikolas is a very problematic character, and I noticed she stepped into the Bryan, Freedman, Melissa, Nathan, Jed Wallace chat, which is a subject I have researched and made a lot of videos about for months. And so that's how I know she's done no research, and she's another one of a whole bunch of creators who spread misinformation, making claims of exposing them all, while scamming her quote-unquote fans. And the funny thing is, this is exactly what she accuses other people of doing. I think it's called projection.
And you're a liar, and you spread misinformation, and you make money off of it. That's even worse. You making money off of it. Your rent gets paid on misinformation. My rent does not get paid off of misinformation. I'm sorry.
Angry.
I'm good. I don't pay my bills off of misinformation.
So Alexa Nikolas is a former child actress who was known for being on a TV show called Zoe 101, which was on Nickelodeon and starred Britney Spears' sister. And so since then, she's really made a bit of a career out of causing drama. And it seems to go back to when, under the agreement of her divorce, her ex-husband didn't have to pay her alimony payments anymore. And it started in 2020 when she wrote an open letter, posted on her social media, accusing him of grooming her and accusing his record label of not allowing her to sue him for SA. And this is a delicate subject because all along she has made herself out to be a survivor. And so after creating the narrative on social media, she did sue him. And what came out in those documents, if you go and do your research, and other people have made videos about it, is her ex-husband actually financially supported her for a long time after their marriage ended. And he paid her $80,000, which was way over what he was legally obliged to, and they did not even have kids together. And in the correspondence between them, it's her that's making threats and him that's being pretty polite in the replies. So you might think this was more a ploy to get more money out of him and use the legal system to her advantage. Anyway, the case was dropped because no lawyers wanted to represent her and she really had no legal standing. But she was able to align herself with the victim support community online, where people are very supportive. And apparently at the advice of her lawyer, she and some other victims came together to form a little activism group which came to be known as Eat Predators. And she got support from the Free Britney movement by claiming to have been bullied by Britney Spears' sister, who they all hate. Only what happened was Alexa clearly was more interested in using the name to promote herself, to be interviewed on TV shows and other podcasts. During the promotional marketing of the documentary Quiet on Set, which was meant to be an expose of affiliate going on at Nickelodeon, the TV channel. And so she went on channels like Megyn Kelly, as well as the YouTube channel of her little buddy Sloane and Trisha Paytas. Her new husband, Michael Gray, decided to capitalize on the Eat Predators name and make it into a commercial business rather than an advocacy group, as had previously been its purpose. And so the other founders, who were genuine activists and advocates, started to call her out, and they were locked out of all the accounts and accused of harassing, stealing and stalking her. And what they were trying to do was hold her accountable and warn other victims and survivors who they wanted to protect that were paying money under false pretenses. They were joining a safe space when it was in fact quite the opposite. This has all been laid out in legal documents that Alexa has promoted herself in yet another lawsuit she has filed against a real journalist, Kat Tembaj. And as far as I can see, she's suing Kat Tembaj as an act of spite because she's a real journalist, because she does her research and fact checks. And this is after Kat Tembaj sent her an email asking her questions based on her research and asking to give her side, which happened a year ago. But Alexa chose violence and has been on a sort of social media crusade against her ever since. Anyway, I just find it really interesting that there's all this drama going on, and instead of addressing it in a sensible way, Alexa continues to go on platforms where she can weaponize their audiences to troll anyone who criticizes her. And with all that going on, she decides to make a video about astroturfing and the use of misinformation, and the use of weaponizing comments, and the manipulation of SEO results, something which she has been literally doing herself. So she's calling out Melissa Nathan, Jed Wallace and Bryan Freedman. Factually, she gets everything completely wrong, but what I find interesting is she has an actual relationship with Bryan Freedman. She held an actual protest outside his office after several news articles done by journalists, people that she wants to shut down, exposed his past in being involved in a serious violent sexual assault against a minor, which he had to pay a settlement for.
Hey, I'm Alexa Nikolas, and we are Eat Predators. We are resolute protectors of survivors of within the music industry and beyond. Today we are in front of Bryan Freedman's law firm, and survivors have 2 questions for Bryan Freedman. Number 1, are you the Bryan Freedman that was mentioned in these public court documents in regards to an alleged? Second, did you disclose to your survivor clients these public court documents about being an alleged? Those are our 2 questions that we would like answered because survivors deserve full disclosure. So we're here today just asking you those 2 questions. If you could give us a comment, that would be highly appreciated. Survivors United will never be divided. Survivors United will never be divided.
In light of the way she's behaved, her slogan, "We will never be divided," seems a little bit disingenuous. And then it's very odd to see Sloan on the protest against Bryan Freedman. He was one of the first people to jump onto the Blake Lively hate smear campaign, which we know Bryan Freedman is involved in. And the other founders in the Eat Predators group had spoken to Alexa about Bryan Freedman and how she was becoming the face of the brand and using it to further her own agenda, because Bryan Freedman had represented her ex-husband in her original lawsuit in 2021, which was dismissed in 2022. And he also represented Jamie Lynn Spears, Britney Spears' sister, who Alexa Nikolas had claimed had bullied her on the set of Zoe 101, which is really what was getting her a lot of publicity on the back of the Quiet on Set documentary marketing.
So if you think about like the protests, Nickelodeon was, I guess technically the 3rd time that like the people who had caused harm had impacted her in some way, shape, or form. So like with that, the first being Bryan Freedman, when Bryan Freedman tried to, how can I say this? Basically, Bryan Freedman had escalated in some way, shape, or form. Not like trying to cause like physical violence or anything like that, but with that was the first time, and we had identified like really early on, this was the first time, we went to his office, protested outside, but that was the first time in the conversation that I had with her is like, they just put a face to this. You are now a face of somebody that's impacted, and that was the conversation that we had at her house.
And Bryan Freedman is Diplo's lawyer, just for anyone that doesn't know.
Bryan Freedman is almost from what I can tell, almost everyone terrible's lawyer in the entire world of entertainment. I can't find a single awful person that he's not their lawyer. Sorry.
Bryan Freedman's in his bag, definitely, with people who are accused of sexual violence quite often. He does represent some survivors. We believe that he doesn't give them full disclosure. That was kind of like from the beginning. We were like, do people who have been harmed that you are representing, do they know? Like they not might only
know now that Rolling Stone made an article about him.
Also, but also like back, we're talking like over the summer, like June and July, do they also know that you had to make a good faith settlement because you were accused of, sexual violence, you were accused of gang rape of a minor is what he was accused of, and he had to make a good faith settlement on that. And do your clients know that? So that was the first time. The second time being red light, and it wasn't just her that was impacted by red light. And then you roll around to early in August, everyone was talking about Jeanette McCready and her book, all of that stuff. I had a meeting with Alexa, I wasn't originally aware that the entire thing was going to be like one-on-one or whatever, but I went over there. We had a conversation about some concerns that I had and that people had brought to myself as well as our organization related to her. And can't really share a lot, but basically the theme was that some way, shape, or form, like, this person was concerned that somehow this movement was going to be made about Alexa rather than survivors, is one of the issues.
Like they just said, Bryan Freedman is a California-based litigation attorney. He used to work in property litigation, and since the 2000s, he has represented people like Diplo, Kevin Spacey, FKA Twigs, Vin Diesel, Jamie Lynn Spears, the Michael Jackson estate, Quentin Tarantino, Perez Hilton, the Menendez brothers, and in a lot of these cases, Bryan puts himself in the spotlight with the media. He is very outspoken about freedom of speech, and he believes in fighting for justice in the court of public opinion, would be a fair way to describe it. As in the court of public opinion, no proof is needed. People are free to believe and feel what they like, accurate or not. So what's been exposed pretty recently is that Bryan has been working with these two people, Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace, and what they do and what they've been shown to do in messages is they exploit the situation by getting paid a lot of money to distort the truth and to create a false narrative that discredits their legal opponent and rewards anyone who promotes their propaganda. And the clients we're talking about here that are named in documents are Justin Baldoni, Rebel Wilson, and Logan Paul, who, if it wasn't for his team manipulating the algorithm and people behind the scenes, because it was his videos of filming dead people and torturing animals which changed YouTube's ad policy. But yet here he is, still thriving, still scamming and selling his products to kids. And Bryan Freedman represents him, and Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace are his PR strategists. So yeah, and what they do is they use the old-fashioned trolling methods like buying up domain names, like Brian Kuchar from the Free Britney movement did to Britney's former business manager Lou Taylor, creating fake Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram accounts, and of course Reddit threads, and posting false allegations, sometimes really serious sexual allegations, of women like Amanda Ghost, who had a successful music career. She was a CEO at Epic Records. And Jed Wallace thinks it's really funny to call her a madam and compare her to Heidi Fleiss, who, by the way, was a serious drug addict. Jed, Mr. Recovery. Oh, and Bryan's also a recovering addict. He holds meetings in a house, but they're making jokes out of a recovering addict. So in messages that were shown on the Blake Lively versus Wayfarer docket as exhibits in the discovery, which is Bryan Freedman's best known case at the moment, by a former employee of Melissa Nathan, a woman called Katie Case. And then Bryan is literally texting Amanda Ghost's lawyer, threatening to blow up her client in a public filing. And there was mentions of a trip to Puerto Rico, which is where Logan Paul is. That was back on the 18th of August. And their other clients, Scooter Braun and Travis Scott, who were also involved in legal action, are mentioned in the message. I just think it's really odd that this information has been out here for like over a month, and suddenly people like Nikolas and a couple of other former Baldoni supporters are making commentary about it. And they've discovered backlinks that trace back to Jed Wallace, apparently. Anyway, I looked at the transcripts of their videos out of curiosity, and I think I've even seen something about a fake Alexa Nikolas website, which I've looked at, asking if Bryan Freedman's behind it. I'm pretty sure he's not. Alexa has made a lot of enemies. Alexa doesn't speak about any of this information in her video. She's talking about crisis PR, which we've known about this since December 24. And when I looked at the description in the video, I saw that she'd put a link to the docket. The title of the video being Justin Baldoni and the Dark Side of Hollywood Fixers. I'm thinking it's going to be his docket, only it was the link to the docket in her own lawsuit. But she starts off talking about Nickelodeon hiring crisis PR, but there's a complete lack of awareness that the techniques they employ is exactly what she does. And she's trying to create this sense of outrage about other people doing it. So we're at It's about how information travels and how people can play God now with people's lives. And you can say something and another person believes it's true, even without any evidence. And I'm like, is she for real? Because I don't think she ever shows any evidence. When she does show evidence, like in her lawsuits, it's proven the opposite of what she wants to be true. Like in the Drake Bell case, in the evidence, it showed that he knew the victim he was talking to was only 15. And that's why everyone was so angry with her, because she took his side and was friends with him without acknowledging his guilt. And that's not something you can do when you're advocating against this kind of crime. We're half an hour in and she's focusing on how much money the crisis PR people get paid and saying, well, maybe they turn a blind eye to their clients. And the funny thing is, this is what the New York Times article was about. The one from December called "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine," except they showed the receipts. And Bryan Freedman, who wants freedom of speech, then sued them for defamation. And the judge dismissed it, just like what happened to Alexa when she sued her ex-husband. And the feminist journalist who wrote the article, Megan he did a much better job of explaining it than Alexa does. It's funny how Alexa Nikolas is now suing a feminist journalist for doing her job. So moving along, because she's not really telling us anything new here. Now she's talking about Matthew Hiltzik. And yeah, Mr. Beast hired Matthew Hiltzik, as did Simon Cowell, as did Brad Pitt, as did Johnny Depp and the Trump Organization. And guess who else, Alexa? Harvey Weinstein. I'm not really checking the live chat on this video, but anyone who thinks this is good content is missing out on good content. Because where's the research? Where's the context? Where's the making the connections? And now she's about to start giving misinformation. Melissa Nathan does not end up working at this place called Tag. It's her own business that she started with her colleagues from Hiltzik, and that had a huge investment from a company that Scooter Braun was a CEO of, someone who is known for using his artists to smear women online, which is all relevant, but Alexa seems to be oblivious. And if you shut down or shut up anyone that doesn't agree with you or questions you, this is how you end up. And so now we're on to, it was Sigmund Freud's nephew who invented public relations. Yeah, Freud PR, a British company which Matthew Hiltzik set up the US branch of. I don't know if she's trying to make some conspiracy here, but it doesn't get any better. This bit is completely made up, because Bryan Freedman did not introduce Justin Baldoni to Tag PR. It was the other way around. We have the whole timeline in the messages. We have the emails, we have the texts, we have the links to the TikToks and the press articles that collectively these people orchestrated. Has she even read the lawsuit? It was Melissa Nathan texting Justin and his PR that she stole to work at her company, Jennifer Abel, to lawyer up and hire Bryan Freedman so they could sue his agent, William Morris Endeavors. She was texting them every day, lawyer up now. We need the social combat plan. We need to hire Jed the magician to manipulate all the comments and boost all the TikToks and snarky YouTube videos. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it actually happened. So it really isn't that difficult to follow, unless you're listening to Alexa Nikolas making up theories. And then she says she can't name a single creator that is pro-play. Well, has she looked? Because they are out there. And there is one she can name, and that's Okie Dokie, and I definitely think she knows who she is. But like I said, if you live in a bubble and you get rid of anyone who doesn't agree with you, even if they are not combative at all in their approach, you will live in ignorance. And that's fine, but not when you're using it to make an income. Not when you're mad at people for spreading misinformation, because that is what she does, and she tells on herself again. In my opinion, this industry, it can prey on misinformation, it can prey on someone's lack of knowledge about a situation, it can prey on somebody's triggers. Alexa, tell us how you used misinformation to trigger the Free Britney fan base and get them to become your supporters. When you told them that you were bullied by Britney Spears' sister, you were bullied, but Britney Spears had to step in and tell you off. Doesn't make sense. It gets even worse. It's the tech bros now who make money off us fighting with one another, keep us on our phones hating one another. Alexa, is that you filing all these lawsuits against people, going after settlements just like Bryan Freedman, weaponizing audiences by going on channels like Ethan Klein and suing people that don't have mad followings, picking on people that do have large audiences so they have to make videos about it, using the law for malice? Is that you trying to profit out of vulnerable people that have been victims of violence by trying to sell them memberships and no offense, but not very nice t-shirts. The tech industry allowed this all to happen, but you're fully taking part in it. You know, the AI industry that you use to make your thumbnails is funded by tech bros like Sam Altman, who's been accused of essaying his sister and being involved in the unalivement of one of his former employees who was a whistleblower. I don't see you talking about that. Back to Alexa and how her protest, she went after Warner Music and got the CEO to step down. It was all because of her. I don't know which CEO she's referring to. There are CEOs who have stepped down, but whether it was because of her, that would need to be verified. And she's got the cheek to say that she stayed focused on the agenda and didn't get into fights amongst the people. We need to stay focused on the agenda. The agenda at hand, I think, for Alexa is capitalizing on her business. And if she really cared about any of the stuff she says she does, she wouldn't be carrying on the way she does. And in all seriousness, if she cared about doing anything about child predators, she would make more of an effort to call out Mr. Beast and Logan Paul, who employ these shady characters and practices when their target audience is children. She is the one trying to manipulate the justice system to suit her own ends, just like the people she's complaining about in this video.